Hi everyone, welcome back to my astrology channel. So today I want to talk about the lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo that's occurring on the 3rd of March 2026. Now this is the fifth eclipse on the Virgo Pisces axis that began in September 2024, and the last one, which will be the sixth eclipse, will be in August 2026. So this lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo is the fifth eclipse. Now we just had an eclipse in the sign of Aquarius. It was a solar eclipse on the 17th of Feb. So this is the second part of that pair of eclipse, because eclipses always come in pairs. There was an Aquarius eclipse, now this is the Virgo eclipse on the 3rd of March. Now this eclipse occurs at 12 degrees Virgo. Now lunar eclipse is a full moon situation, meaning the sun and the moon are opposite to each other. So the moon is in the sign of Virgo and sun is in the sign of Pisces, forming an opposition of sun and moon. And Virgo and Pisces axis is illuminated during this lunar eclipse. Now, eclipses are a time of massive shift, drastic changes, transformations, regeneration, and all that. So that's what can be expected with this lunar eclipse as well. Now, lunar eclipse, because it's a full moon situation, it's all about culmination. It's about endings, revelations, realization, awareness. It's about a release as well, letting go. That's what the lunar eclipse is. Now, in the sign of Virgo, it's about releasing or understanding the Virgo energy. Now, obviously, you need to go back to your natal chart and see where the Virgo sign sits in your chart. And that's the house matter that will need releasing during this time or understanding during this time. Now, release doesn't have to be an external event. It can be internal as well. So this release, this culmination, this ending comes as a result of understanding where you stand, your patterns, if they are unhealthy patterns, or if these patterns are around obligations or burdens and all that, whether it's emotional or physical burden. If these obligations are around that, that's what you are releasing. That's what you are letting go during this time. Now, if we go back to the Virgo Pisces axis, which is the 6th house and 12th house energy, Virgo represents the work matters, health matters, our daily routine, schedules, habits, what we do on a daily basis, our level of productivity, our usefulness. It's about practical reality. It's about tangible aspect of life. And Pisces, on the other hand, is more about the unconscious, subconscious. It's about our hidden patterns, subconscious patterns that are hidden from us as well, which can lead to self-sabotage, which can lead to hidden struggles and all that. Now, Pisces is a water sign, so it's also to do with intuition, spirituality, faith. Now, Virgo is an earth sign. That's why it's more about tangible aspect of life. Now, both are mutable signs. So there's a mutability to this lunar eclipse, meaning there's a changeability to this lunar eclipse. There's a need to adapt to these realization, changes, culminations, ending, whatever that might be experienced during this time. There is an element of changeability to that. There's an element to be flexible to that in order to release unhealthy patterns and bring in positive energies and healthy experiences. Now, as it is a full moon situation, meaning sun and moon are opposite to each other, it's also about balancing these energies. Sun is our core self, is our ego self, and moon is our subconscious self, our emotions. So we are balancing the ego self with our emotional self and finding a balance, a middle ground. So the highlight during this time will be releasing any obligations or habits or routine that are unsustainable, that are unhealthy, basically, and also releasing control. We are releasing control of matters that we may be holding on to, that is self-sabotaging at the end of the day, that is causing us more harm than is useful to us, basically. So Virgo is about productivity. It's about usefulness. It's about acts of service. It's about doing, making things happen, being useful to others. That's what Virgo energy is about. Now, obviously, we are releasing control here. We are releasing if that usability comes at a cost, at our own expense. So if it's mentally straining or physically draining, or is causing stress and harm, both physical, mental harm, then it is of no use. So it's important to find that balance. And if your routines, habit, obligations, daily, how you go about on a daily basis is affecting your health and mental well-being, then there is a need to understand the patterns here and release the patterns going forward. That's what the full moon energy is. And because it's a lunar eclipse situation, there's going to be drastic change, life shifting events, experiences will be felt during this time. So definitely it's important to understand what we want going forward with this eclipse. Now, obviously, we have been releasing these energy wherever our Virgo sign and Pisces sign sits in our chart, or since last year when the lunar nodes shifted on this axis in January 2025, and this axis will be activated until mid this year, and this is the opportunity to release this going forward. Now I will discuss all the 12 zodiac signs and how this Virgo lunar eclipse will affect each of the sign. So let's begin. Hello Aries, welcome to your lunar eclipse reading. Now Aries, the Virgo lunar eclipse on the 3rd of March is occurring in your 6th house. Now lunar eclipses are full moon situations, so sun is in your 12th house in the sign of Pisces. So your 6th and 12th house axis is activated with this lunar eclipse. Now the ruler of this lunar eclipse, which is in Virgo, is Mercury, and Mercury is in a retrograde motion during this eclipse. So the energy of this eclipse is a little bit internalized. Now eclipses are fated turning points. So this turning point, this shift in energy occurs in your 6th house matters. Now 6th house is the house of your work, your health, your daily routine, your daily environment, your productivity and all that. And lunar eclipses are all about endings, culminations, realizations, revelations and all that. So with the 6th house eclipse for you Aries, this could be a health wake-up call, or maybe a change in your work or daily routine. So it's very important to listen to your body. Don't overstress. Now 6th house is the house of daily routine, schedules, work and all that. So if you're overworking, you need to look at your schedule and also make time for rest. It's very important because sun is in the 12th house, which is the house of rest and releasing. Now you need to be mindful of burnout as well, because stress level can rise, or something will surface during this time around your work matters, routine or health, that will kind of push you to make these changes or to release these patterns. Now this can also mean a change in work environment, maybe leaving a job or changing your work hours maybe, or maybe taking less stress at your job or work or routine, or even at home. It doesn't have to be at work, because 6th house is the house of what you do on a daily basis. So there's a need for a change in these areas. So be mindful of any burnout. Also, you need to release any perfectionist mindset, or increasing your or wanting to increase productivity at the cost of your own health, and like overworking, doing extra shifts and all that. It's very important to rest and rejuvenate. Healing will only come through rest, so you need to release your old patterns. That's what the 6th house eclipse is. You're releasing your old work routine patterns around that. So you need to release in order to heal. Now Mercury is the ruler of this eclipse, and it's in retrograde in your 12th house. So this means you will feel extremely intuitive as well during this time. Your hidden thoughts may come to surface. If you're pushing anything on the back burner, that will come to the surface, and you may have a need for solitude and rest and retreat and all that. Now eclipses already have this very fated energy to it, and with this retrograde Mercury, which is the ruler of this eclipse, events may feel like something that has happened before. Maybe last year around March 2025, when the Virgo eclipse occurred, the lunar eclipse in Virgo occurred, something may have shifted around that time. Maybe you wanted to change your job or leave your job, or change your schedule routine and you were not able to do that at that time, that energy can resurface during this time. So with this lunar eclipse in your sixth house, you are looking at what has happened before and how you can fix that something from the past going forward. So the eclipse is not about new territory. It's a full moon situation, so it's not about new beginnings. It's about correcting the trajectory of your sixth house matter, and you're not meant to move forward blindly during this time. So pause and reflect and release what's not useful for you anymore, Aries. Thank you. Hello, Taurus. Welcome to your lunar eclipse reading. Now, Taurus, the lunar eclipse in Virgo occurs on the 3rd of March. Now, lunar eclipses are full moon situations, meaning it's all about culmination, realization, revelation, endings, understanding, awareness, and all that. Now, eclipses bring fated turning points. So that's what this eclipse is going to be all about. Now, it's all happening in your fifth house because that's where your Virgo sign sits. So on 3rd of March, this lunar eclipse will activate your fifth house matter. Now, Sun is in the opposite sign to fifth house, which is in the 11th house in the sign of Pisces. So your fifth and 11th house axis is in focus. Now, fifth house is a house of pleasure. It's a house of self-expression, creative expression, passion projects, children, romance, dating, amusement, fun times, all that. So with the lunar eclipse occurring in here, there can be a culmination point or release or understanding your romantic and creative expressions, what you're attracted to or how you attract things or how you express creatively or affectionately is going to kind of come to a realization, or there is going to be a fated turning point in this area. Now, this means you could be letting go of an unhealthy love patterns. So this could mean your way of expressing love or affection or creativity, passion, all that may go through a kind of change. Now, this is also the house of children. So this could be a big moment involving your children. It can mean maybe childbirth or pregnancy news or your children doing well. Whatever that might be, it can be something around that, or maybe you're spending more time with your children and all that. Now, this can also end or deepen a romantic situation, or even a passion project or a creative project. Maybe you are involved in an art project or creative project, and that is coming to an end. Your work is done, so you are able to move on. So here there will be some sort of clarity around your fifth house matter. This will also lead to understanding of your position in a group dynamic as well, your association, alliances, and all that, your social situation, your social circle, and all that. There would be some sort of culmination or clarity around that. So this axis is about standing out versus fitting in, because it's a natural Leo and Aquarius axis. So 5th and 11th house is in focus. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, which is in retrograde motion during this eclipse, and it's in your 11th house. So here you may feel a bit different in group dynamic and your social situation as well. So you may be sensitive to social energy and maybe also idealistic about friendship and alliances and collaborations and all that. So it's important to revisit your ideas, especially group ideas that you may have or visionary ideas that you may have. It's important to do that so that you're able to express yourself clearly in a more authentic way with this 5th house eclipse energy. Now, eclipses are fated turning points, as I mentioned before. So here, with the ruler of the eclipse retrograde, the events may feel like as if it has happened before. Now, obviously, last year in March, there was a Virgo lunar eclipse, and obviously lunar nodes shifted in the sign of Virgo in January 2025. So there may be kind of a deja vu moment, whatever happened last year. So there may be kind of a revisiting what happened last year, but that is only to fix something from the past. So you need to look into what you got involved over the last year, maybe a decision you made last year to collaborate or to express, or maybe you signed up to a creative project, an art project, or any passion project. You signed up to, and now you're revisiting that, and you're just looking at if you made the right decision, and if you want to go ahead, or if you want to end it, or whatever you want to do it. Now, obviously, lunar eclipses are not about new territory. It's not about new beginnings. It's about correcting the trajectory, and you're correcting the trajectory from what happened, over the last 6 months mainly, but even correcting the last lunar eclipse in March 2025. So here it's important to reflect, pause and reflect, and not move forward blindly, Taurus. Thank you. Hello, Geminis. Welcome to your lunar eclipse reading. Now, Geminis, the lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo occurs on the 3rd of March and activates your 4th house. That's where your Virgo sign sits. So your 4th house matters is at the forefront with this lunar eclipse. Now, lunar eclipses are full moon situation, meaning it's all about culmination, it's about realization, revelation, clarity, understanding, releasing, and all that. Now, all this happens in your 4th house. Now, obviously, it's a full moon situation, so the sun is in your 10th house, which is opposite to the 4th house. So your 4th and 10th house axis is activated with this eclipse. Now, eclipses are fated turning points, and it's affecting your living situation, your family situation, your home situation, your ancestry, your roots, your birthplace, your emotional foundation, your inner world, your private life. That's what is being affected by this eclipse. Now, this can mean a family or home matters reach a climax. It can mean emotional release tied to something from the past or even childhood. This can also mean releasing childhood programming, releasing past programming. It can also mean releasing old beliefs about yourselves, limiting beliefs about yourself. This can be a time of great emotional release. So you may be releasing emotional baggages, things that is holding you back, or maybe you are holding yourself back, or maybe your environment is holding you back. It can be down to security, stability, because 4th house is a house of security. It's a house of, your inner security, emotional security. So there may be some sort of release around that or clarity around that going forward. Now, this can mean you're moving home, or you're redecorating home, or you're doing DIY at home, or you're relocating, or you're redefining what home means to you, Geminis. Now, something around your family situation or your home situation or your own emotional foundation, your own inner world, something will be revealed, something will come to light, because it is a full moon. So moon is at its fullest, it's fully illuminated. So everything is clear. There's a lot of clarity around here. So things are revealed around your home matters. So this can mean some sort of shift in your emotional world. Now, obviously, 10th house is also activated during this eclipse. So your reputation, your image may need a rethink during this time. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is in retrograde motion, and it's in your 10th house, which is again the house of your reputation, your image, your career, your ambition, and all that, your life direction. So here with this retrograde, your image, your career may feel unclear during this time. Your reputation may feel unclear. There may be a lot of public misunderstandings during this time, because Mercury retrograde is kind of going within kind of energy. So growth comes through clarity. So it's very important to pause and reflect before making any decisions going forward. So as I mentioned, eclipses are about fated turning points, massive shift. Now, obviously, this is all going to be internalized because the ruler is in retrograde motion. So you are reflecting and thinking, your home situation, your living situation, your family situation, your past, your roots, your birth place, your parents, your family, where you come from, your past conditioning, your childhood conditioning. You're going all the way back to your childhood, your growing up years, how you were raised. So all that is coming to an understanding, clarity, and hence something will be released in order for something to shift. So here with the ruler of the eclipse being retrograde, the events happening around this time may feel like a deja vu, like it has happened before. And probably it has, because the lunar nodes shifted on this axis of Virgo Pisces axis in January 2025, and there was a lunar eclipse in the month of March 2025. So there may have been some situation around that which may mirror that energy to this 3rd March lunar eclipse. So here you need to fix something from the past. This is not about new territory or new beginning. It's about correcting a trajectory, correcting something from last 6 months, or even since January 2025. You're correcting something and you're not moving forward blindly, Geminis. It's very important to pause and reflect and really look at your inner world, your private life, your emotional world, and release any emotional baggages going forward, Geminis. Thank you. Hello, Cancer. Welcome to your lunar eclipse reading. Now, Cancer, the lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo occurs on the 3rd of March, which is going to activate your 3rd house because that's where your Virgo sign fits. Now, lunar eclipses are full moon situations, so the sun is in the opposite sign to your 3rd house, which is in the 9th house in the sign of Pisces. So your 3rd house and 9th house axis is activated. Now, eclipses are major turning points. It's fated turning points, fated events, situations, experiences occur during this time that shifts your reality. So Cancer, with the 3rd house being activated, which is a house of communication, connection, it's a house of your mind, it's a house of your outlook, your mindset, how you think, how you communicate, how you connect and all that, that is shifting. So here, this eclipse can bring some important conversation or news or some sort of mental clarity after a confusion. Now, here it's important to end any negative thought patterns or gossip cycles with this eclipse energy. So, this eclipse will end a negative thought pattern or a gossip cycle that may be going around about you, Cancer. Now, truth will be exposed, and there's a need to reset your thinking, your mindset, revisit old conversations, communication, how you communicate old informations and all that, and gain clarity going forward. Now, if there are any mental confusion or overthinking, it's important to reevaluate and release anything that is, not useful, basically. Any information that is not useful or is gossipy or unclear or negative, those needs to be released, Cancer. Now, 3rd and 9th house is the axis of logic and intuition, facts and faith. So that's where you are finding a balance. You're releasing your over-reliance on logic and going with the flow a little bit, Cancer. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is in a retrograde motion during this time, which is in your 9th house. So it's Mercury is retrograde in your 9th house. Now here you may question your belief system. You may be revising your worldview, your perception, your faith, how you see things, how your viewpoint, how you see others, and all that. So truth becomes very personal with this Mercury retrograde because your mind is internalized. You are thinking, reflecting, pausing within. You are reanalyzing, internalizing all these energies. Now, as I said, eclipses are fated turning points, so major shift does occur. Now, obviously, the eclipses on this axis of Virgo Pisces began in January 2025, and there was a lunar eclipse in March 2025. So with this eclipse back in your 3rd house, events may feel like as if it has happened before. Now, there is a need here to fix something from the past. So this is not about starting something new. This eclipse is not about new territory. It's about correcting a trajectory. Something from the past you're correcting. It's like a course correction situation. So now you're not meant to move forward blindly. It's very important. You pause and reflect and you make your decision, whatever decision or communication, the way you communicate, the way you connect, you are rethinking, reanalyzing, and if there was any mistakes or misunderstanding from last year, this is an opportunity to correct that going forward, Cancer. Thank you. Hello, Leos. Welcome to your lunar eclipse reading. Now, Leos, the lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo occurs on the 3rd of March, which activates your second house. Now, that's where your Virgo sign sits. Now, lunar eclipses are full moon situations, so the sun is in the opposite house, which is 8th house in the sign of Pisces. So, with this eclipse, your second and 8th house axis is activated. Now, lunar eclipse full moon is about culmination, it's about release, it's about clarity, understanding, realization, revelations, course correction, and all that. So, all this occurs in your second house. Now, this can be seen as a fated turning point in your money matters, Leos, your finances, because your second and 8th house axis is activated. So, this can be a financial or values related turning point. So, something is shifting, it's a fated shift definitely occurring around your values, how you see yourself, your self-worth, money, assets, how you sustain yourself, and all that. So here you may be releasing, scarcity mindset or unhealthy attachments as well with the 8th house energy. And this can be financial attachment or emotional attachment based around finances. So that's what you're releasing. This can also bring realization of your true worth, which is not just surrounding money, Leo. So, what are you truly worth? That's what comes to clarity with this lunar eclipse. Now, this will obviously bring financial clarity, your financial situation. So, if you have debt or your income, salary situation, whatever that might be, there may be some sort of realization around that. Now, Leos, with the Virgo South Node in your second house, there may have been some sort of a reduction in your finances or changes in your finances, since last year. So, this eclipse will bring some sort of ending to unhealthy spending situation, spending habits, or your money situation, your income stream, and all that, and also maybe debt or loan or social finances, other people's money and all that. Something around that will clarify. So if there are any confusion around finances, shared finances, that will definitely come to a realization with this lunar eclipse. So it's a turning point where your security, your material security, and your emotional security is concerned. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, which rules Virgo. And Mercury is in a retrograde motion during this time, and it's moving through your 8th house in the sign of Pisces. So here there can be obsessive thinking about your finances, resources, debt, and all that. And you may be, going through these energies last year as well. But with this retrograde, all this comes to the forefront because you're rethinking, you're reflecting on it. And this can also lead to deep emotional, financial healing as well. Maybe you come up with a solution with this lunar eclipse, how to go about, how to take care of your finances, how to manage your finances, and all that. Now, as I mentioned, eclipses are about fated turning points. And with the ruler being in retrograde motion, it may feel like the events you're experiencing around this time has happened before. So there's a need to fix something from the past. So here, obviously, you are fixing your finances, Leos. Now, lunar eclipse is not about new beginnings. It's not about new territories. It's about correcting a trajectory, and you're not meant to move forward blindly. So it's important to pause and reflect and really look at your financial situation and find a solution going forward. Thank you, Leos. Hello, Virgos. Welcome to your lunar eclipse reading. Now, Virgos, the lunar eclipse occurs in your sign, so it activates your first house. Now, lunar eclipses are full moon situations, so the sun and moon are in opposition. With the moon being in your sign and in the first house, sun is opposite to it in the 7th house in the sign of Pisces. So your first and 7th house axis is activated with this lunar eclipse on 3rd of March. Now, lunar eclipses are all about, now lunar eclipse full moon is all about culmination. It's about endings. It's about realization, revelation, understanding, clarity, releasing, and all that. And because it's an eclipse, it's going to be a time of massive shift. It's a fated turning. Eclipses are all about fated turning points. So this eclipse is going to bring major shift. Now, it's all happening in your first house. Now, first house is a house of your identity. It's a house of yourself. It's a house of your life direction, how you project yourself, your appearance, your overall health, and all that. So here there's going to be a major shift in how you see yourself, what you identify with. Now, you may be letting go of an old identity, an old image, or an old behavior. This eclipse here can bring emotional awakening about your personal needs versus other people's expectations. Now, obviously, seventh house is all about other people. So that is what you're balancing your needs with those, you're balancing your needs with other people's expectation. Now, this may have started in January 2025 when the lunar nodes shifted on this axis, and there was an eclipse, a lunar eclipse in Virgo in March 2025, which may have triggered some sort of realization, some clarity, some endings around that time. So here, a new you is loading. Relationship truths are revealed, and you may be reassessing your partnership, what you want in partnership, what are your expectations, or how you connect with your partner as well. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is in a retrograde motion during this time, which is moving through your seventh house in the sign of Pisces. Now, Mercury retrograde can bring miscommunication, can bring overthinking as well, because you're internalizing the process here. So there can be miscommunication in relationships during this time. You may be attracting more sensitive or confusing people or deceptive partner as well, or somebody you can't see clearly. They may be elusive. So it's very important to clarify expectations during this time, and you need to reflect on your relationship expectation and how you see a relationship as well. Now, obviously, North Node was in the sign of Pisces in your seventh house since January 2025. So there has been a lot of growth in relationship, maybe a commitment, marriage, whatever that might be. So this Mercury retrograde during this time is asking you to balance yourself with your needs and those of others. Now, as I said, eclipses bring fated turning points. And with the ruler of the eclipse being in retrograde, the events here that occur during this time may feel like it has happened before. It may feel like a deja vu. So what you need to do here is to fix something from the past. And the past may be last year. Since the eclipses began on this axis. So the eclipse here is not about new territory. You're not beginning anything new. You are only correcting the trajectory. What began last year, you are kind of correcting that. And this time you're not meant to move forward blindly. So it's very important to pause and reflect and look at your needs and other people's needs and expectations, and really reassess your relationship and reassess your own needs as well. That's what you're doing. There's a major shift in your identity, how you see yourself, your image and all that. So you're reevaluating all that during this lunar eclipse and releasing anything that is not fitting the new you, Virgos. Thank you. Hello, Libras. Welcome to your lunar eclipse reading. Now, Libras, the lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo occurs on the 3rd of March, which activates your 12th house because that's where your Virgo sign sits, Libras. Now, a lunar eclipse is a full moon situation, meaning the sun and moon are in opposition. So with moon being in your 12th house, the sun is in the 6th house in the sign of Pisces. So your 12th and 6th house axis is activated during this time, Libras. Now, eclipses are about turning point. It's a fated turning point. Something is shifting. Now this axis, lunar nodes shifted on this axis in January 2025. So since then, your 12th and 6th house axis, there's a lot of shift occurring on this axis. Now, 12th house is the house of your subconscious. It's the house of your hidden struggles, your hidden fears. It's a house of emotional baggage. It's a house of subconscious element, subconscious patterns and all that, self-sabotaging patterns, self-undoing patterns and all that. It's also the house of solitude, retreat, withdrawing and all that. So with the lunar eclipse occurring in your 12th house, Libras, this brings deep emotional release. you are releasing something emotionally that may be, burdening you and all that, or maybe not good for you, maybe holding you back from your full potential or from moving forward. Because after 12th house comes the first house, which is your identity, your life direction, yourself. The next full moon occurs in your sign in the month of April. So this is a time of closure, emotional closure. You're letting go of patterns, especially that may have begun last year around January 2025 and the whole year, and especially the last 6 months. So you're releasing all those patterns. Something may have come to realization, revelation in the last 6 months, and you are awakening from that energy. You're letting go of those emotional burdens and not sabotaging yourself going forward. So here, this can trigger powerful inner clearing, deep emotional purge. Hidden truths are revealed, so you gain a lot of clarity. You clear any confusion, any fog is cleared. Now, obviously, sixth house energy is also activated. So your work situation, your job, your health situation, there may have been some sort of confusion around your work environment, your colleagues, also around your health, your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, physical well-being, and all that. You're releasing all that, you're letting it go, and you're healing what you have been ignoring until now. So this is a time of great awakening. 6th and 12th house axis means boundaries are essential, Libras, and that's the turning point. You need to have boundaries. You need to protect yourself, Libras. Now, the ruler of this lunar eclipse is Mercury, which rules Virgo. And Mercury is in a retrograde motion, moving through your sixth house in the sign of Pisces. So this can be mentally or emotionally overwhelming, especially with the routine, schedules, everything happening around you, basically. So this means you need to go within, reflect, pause, and really reboot your nervous system. By taking it slow, by resting and all that. Your work environment may have changed. You're taking things slowly because you need a quiet work environment. You need a healthy work environment. So that may have changed over the last 6 months as well. Obviously, this will bring awareness around your health and thus releasing anything that is unhealthy. Now, as I mentioned, eclipses bring fated turning points, and with the ruler being in a retrograde motion, the events may feel like it has happened before. It's like a deja vu, something that has happened before. Now, obviously, as the lunar node shifted in January 2025, and there was a lunar eclipse in Virgo in March 2025. So around this time, it may feel like something that has happened before. So you may need to fix something from the past. And the lunar eclipses are not about new beginnings. It's not about new territories. It's about correcting a trajectory. It's a course correction time due to the clarity gained. So here you're not meant to move forward blindly, Libras. It's important to pause and reflect. Look at your emotional self, your emotional world, your subconscious world, your fears, your inner self, and your overall well-being, your mind, body, soul. Libras, thank you. Hello, Scorpios. Welcome to your lunar eclipse reading. Now, Scorpios, the lunar eclipse occurs in the sign of Virgo on the 3rd of March, which activates your 11th house because that's where your Virgo sign sits. So your 11th house matter is at the forefront. Now, lunar eclipses are a full moon situation, meaning the sun and moon are in opposition. With the moon in the sign of Virgo in your 11th house, the sun is in the sign of Pisces in your 5th house. So your 11th and 5th house energies are energized. Now, 11th house is the house of collaboration. It's the house of your social circle. It's the house of your alliances, your team, your group, your organization where you work, the team that you work in, any collaborative effort, any group project. It's also the house of your long-term aspiration, your goals, your hopes and wishes and all that. So with lunar eclipse, which is a full moon situation, meaning it's all about culmination, ending. It's about realization, revelation, clarity, and all that. And because it's an eclipse, these changes that occur is fated. It's a fated turning point event. So with the 11th house eclipse, So with the 11th house in focus, there will be changes in alliances. There will be changes in social circle, your network, your team that you may be involved in, or any group project or collaborative effort, or even your long-term goals needs reassessment during this time. So you may be detaching from a group activity or a team that you may be involved in. You may not feel aligned anymore with the group activity or the collaboration. It could be because your goals have changed, or the people you're surrounded with have changed, or your friendship goals have shifted, or your collaborative goals, your group activity goals, your group association goals have shifted, or there's some sort of shift, there's some sort of ending to a social situation, association and all. So that can change that. That can bring clarity if there are any confusion around 11th house matters. Now, this can also mean connecting with like-minded people as well. It can mean even though you may be disconnecting with an old circle of associates, you may be now connecting with a new one, which is more aligned with your purpose or more aligned with where you want to go, whatever your goals are and all that. So it's important to understand what your future goals are and connect it with your current creative expression and what you are expressing yourself creatively with your passion projects and all that. This can be a time of creative reassessment as well, along with goals reassessment and your network reassessment. So here it's important to strike this balance between instant gratification, what brings you joy in the moment, and what your long-term goals are. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is in a retrograde motion, moving through your fifth house in the sign of Pisces. So this can have creative genius potential, Scorpios. You may be idealistic about romance during this time, or your creative expression or your passion project during this time. So it's important to revise any old way of expressing creativity, or an old romantic connection, or any old patterns. Now, if you have children, you may be again reconnecting with them. That can bring some sort of shift as well to how you see what brings joy to you, and connecting with your future ambitions and all that. Now, as I mentioned, eclipses are about fated turning points. So with the ruler of this eclipse being in retrograde, this event, whatever happens during this time, can feel like a deja vu, something that has happened before. And this could trigger something that happened last year around the same time in March 2025, when there was a lunar eclipse in Virgo. So there could be a need to fix something from the past. Also, the lunar eclipse is not about new beginnings. It's not about new territory. It's about correcting a trajectory. It's about course correction due to the clarity gained. So you're not meant to move forward blindly. You need to pause and reflect and really look at your social situation, your social circle and all that, your group association, your team association and all that, and reassess them and really strike a balance between what you want now and what your future plans are, Scorpios. Thank you. Hello, Sagittarius. Welcome to your lunar eclipse reading. Now, Sagittarius, the lunar eclipse occurs in the sign of Virgo on the 3rd of March, which activates your 10th house, because that's where your Virgo sign sits. Now, lunar eclipses are full moon situation, meaning the sun and moon are in opposition. So with the moon being in the 10th house in the sign of Virgo, sun is in the sign of Pisces in your 4th house. So your 10th and 4th house axis is activated. Now, lunar eclipses, full moon are all about culmination. It's about realization, revelation, clarity, understanding. It's about releasing. So with the eclipse in your 10th house, this is a major career turning point. So there will be changes or fated events around your career matter, around your ambition, your reputation, your public image, and all that. So your career may reach a peak during this time, or there may be some sort of changes around your career matters. This could mean reevaluating your ambition, your goals, your professional goals, or this can also bring a change in public image, reputation, or even can bring public recognition, Sagittarius. So here you may be ending an old professional role or some sort of culmination to an image, Sagittarius. But this can bring emotional clarity about your life direction and where you want to go, where do you want to see yourself. This can mean a shift in life path, your business matters, job matters, professional career, and all that. You may be shifting as well, or you may be ending something in order to embrace something new. So any breakthroughs occurring during this time is going to only come through clarity. Now, obviously, fourth house is also activated. So this can mean you need to find a balance between your status, your career, your professional matters, and your emotional foundation, Sagittarius. Your home matters, your family matters, and all that. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, which rules Virgo, and Mercury is in a retrograde motion, moving through the sign of Pisces in your fourth house. So here this can mean emotional processing, which is rooted in the past or rooted in your private life or rooted in your family matters, childhood matters, parents, home matters, and all that. So you're revisiting a family dynamic and you may feel a bit misunderstood at home as well or in family situation as well. So it's important to go with the flow and use your intuition because fourth house is ruled by Pisces. So you need to use your intuition to resolve any issues going forward, Sagittarius. Now, as I mentioned, eclipses bring fated turning points. And with the ruler of it being in retrograde, the events that may occur during this time may feel like it has happened before, or you may need to fix something from the past. Now, lunar eclipse is not about new beginning, it's not about new territory, it's about correcting a trajectory, it's about course correction. So it's important to be mindful that you're not, moving forward blindly. So do pause, do reflect around your career matters, your public image, your home matters, and all that, and release any emotional baggage or gain clarity around what you need in terms of your professional matters, your image, and all that going forward. Sagittarius, thank you. Hello, Capricorn. Welcome to your lunar eclipse reading. Now, Capricorn, the lunar eclipse occurs in the sign of Virgo on the 3rd of March, which activates your ninth house because that's where your Virgo sign sits. Now, lunar eclipse is a full moon situation, meaning the sun and the moon is in opposition. So with moon in the ninth house in Virgo, sun is in the sign of Pisces in your third house. So your ninth and third house axis is activated. Now, lunar eclipse, full moon is all about culmination. It's about revelation, realization, clarity, releasing, understanding, awareness, and all that. So this lunar eclipse is going to bring some sort of fated turning point in your ninth house matter. Now, ninth house is a house of your belief system, your perspective, your worldview, your viewpoint, and all that, how you see things, your philosophy, and all that. So there will be a shift in your belief systems, your life philosophy, and all that. Now, it can also bring higher education, travel, something around these matters may culminate or may come to a clarity or realization. So you may be letting go of limiting worldviews or your perception, beliefs, how you see things, and all that. With lunar eclipse here in the ninth house, truth definitely will expand. So you're more expansive, you're more open-minded about the possibility and perception and your viewpoint and all that. You are more perceptive of other people's viewpoint as well. Truth will be revealed because ninth house is the natural Sagittarius house, which is all about truth seeking. It's about exploring and expanding. So here, truth will be revealed. Any fog around communication will lift and you will be able to see the big picture versus the small details, which is the third house matter. Now, this can really bring massive shift in terms of how you see your life, what your life direction, path, your spirituality, how you connect yourself with others going forward, Capricorn. Now, the ruler of this lunar eclipse is Mercury, which rules Virgo, and Mercury is in a retrograde motion during this time, moving through the third house in the sign of Pisces. So third house is a house of your mind, communication, connection, logic, it's a house of your network and all that. So here your thinking may be non-linear, because when Mercury is retrograde, your mind is internalized. You may be overthinking as well during this time. So it's important to reassess your thought process, how you communicate and all that. Take it slow, reflect, pause before coming to a conclusion, Capricorn. This Mercury in the third house in Pisces can also give you strong imagination and can make you, your storytelling or your speech can be excellent. It can be very flowing, very imaginative, very intuitive as well. So definitely there is massive shift in your belief system and all that. Now, obviously, this eclipse on this axis of Virgo and Pisces began in January 2025. So things may be changing since then. And there was a lunar eclipse in Virgo in March 2025. So things have been releasing or gaining clarity since then. Now, as I mentioned, eclipses are fated turning points, and with the ruler being in retrograde, it may feel like this has happened before. So whatever you're experiencing during this time, it may feel as if you were in this position last year as well. So now you need to fix something from the past, or rectify or correct something from the past. Lunar eclipses are not about new territory or new beginnings. It's about correcting a trajectory. It's about course correction. So you're not meant to move forward blindly during this time. So pause, reflect, take your time before making any decision, Capricorn. Thank you. Hello, Aquarius. Welcome to your lunar eclipse reading. Now, Aquarius, the lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo occurs on the 3rd of March, which activates your 8th house. That's where your Virgo sign sits. Now, lunar eclipses are full moon situation, meaning the sun and the moon are in opposition. So with moon in Virgo in your 8th house, sun is in the sign of Pisces in your 2nd house. So your 8th and 2nd house axis is activated. Now, lunar eclipse, full moon are all about culmination. It's about release, revelation, realization, awareness, understanding, clarity, and all that. So with the lunar eclipse occurring in your 8th house, this is a massive turning point, and fated events may occur during this time that leads to psychological purging, emotional purging, releasing emotional attachments and all that. Now, 8th house is a house of shared finances, shared resources. It's a house of intimacy, transformation, values, social finances, debt, loan, basically any finance that's not self-earned. Now, 2nd house is the house of self-earned money matters. It's a house of your assets, your possessions. It's a house of your self-worth. It's a house of how you sustain yourself and all that. So there is going to be some sort of clarity around your finances, especially those connected with others, and there may be a release around that. So if there are any debts or taxes or matters revolving inheritance and all that, that can come to the forefront and will need resolution. Now, 8th house is a natural Scorpio house. So this is also the house of shadow work. It's a house of releasing any fear, guilt, shame, trauma. So if you think you need therapy to release these energies, this is a good time to connect with a support system as well. This is definitely a time of deep psychological transformation, and nothing superficial survives Aquarius during this period. So it's a good time to review finances, and also if there are any confusion around your sense of self-worth, those baggages, those struggles, hidden struggles, or matters that are holding you back from growing, you need to release all those matters. Now, 8th and 2nd house is the money axis. So this is a money eclipse. It's about balancing power dynamic with vulnerability. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, because Mercury rules Virgo, and Mercury is in a retrograde motion during this time and is moving through your 2nd house in the sign of Pisces. So here it's all about internalizing your 2nd house matters. So there can be confusion around money matters and or your earning abilities during this time. There may be changes in your finances, changes in your income, or there may be a need to review your income or or reassess your finances, your spending habits, your how you sustain yourself and all that. It's also important to ground yourself where your finances are concerned. Now, as I mentioned before, eclipses bring fated turning points, and as the ruler of it is retrograde, the events that occur during this time may feel as if it has happened before, and it may have, because the lunar node shifted on the Virgo Pisces axis in January 2025, and there was a lunar eclipse in Virgo in March 2025. So it may feel as if you have experienced these energies before and you need to fix something from the past. Now, lunar eclipse is not about new beginnings, it's not about new territory, it's about correcting a trajectory, it's about course correction. So you're not meant to move forward blindly during this time. So it's important to pause and reflect and look at your finances and your emotional entanglements and all, and release something that is unhealthy around finances or emotional attachments, and that will come through reflection and going within, Aquarius. Thank you. Hello Pisces, welcome to your lunar eclipse reading. Now Pisces, the lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo occurs on the 3rd of March, which activates your 7th house. Now, lunar eclipse is a full moon situation, meaning the sun and the moon is in opposition. So the moon is in the sign of Virgo in your 7th house, and sun is in your sign in your 1st house. So your 7th house and 1st house axis is activated. Now, lunar eclipse full moon is all about culmination. It's about ending. It's about realization, revelation, clarity, awareness, clearing the confusion and all that. So that's what you are trying to gain around your 7th house matter. Now, 7th house is the house of relationship. It's the house of partnership, and this can be personal or business. So any social interaction is a 7th house matter. So with the eclipse occurring in your 7th house, this is a turning point in relationship matters, or how you see relationship, how you see interaction, how you connect with people. So here a relationship truth will be revealed. There can be changes in relational commitments. It either can end or it can deepen. So here there's a strong focus on boundaries and finding a balance between what your needs are and what other people's expectations are, Pisces. So that's what you're gaining clarity around this time. There's a need to focus on clarity over comfort, Pisces, during this time. Now, this eclipse can definitely bring a climax kind of situation in a partnership, and that can be business or personal. Now, obviously, with the 1st house being activated, there can be an identity confusion as well. How you see yourself or how others see you. There can be some sort of confusion around that time. So there's a need to reevaluate your needs and where you're heading, basically. What are your expectations and all that. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, which rules Virgo. And Mercury is in a retrograde motion, moving through your sign in the 1st house. So here there can be a lot of misunderstanding and confusion around communication. Your communication or other people's communication can be very elusive, unclear, or you may misread them, or they may misread you. So it's important to be cautious of your words, thoughts, and action, and deep self-reflection is definitely needed because it's going through your 1st house, and through that your identity will evolve going forward. So it's important to look at what your relationship situation is and gain understanding and awareness, not just on an external basis, but also internally. What are your relational needs? How do you see yourself in relationship? What kind of relationship you want? All that is being clarified with this Virgo lunar eclipse. Now, obviously, this shift began last year in January 2025 when the lunar node shifted on the Virgo Pisces axis, and there was a lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo in March 2025. So things may have shifted around that time going forward. Now, as I mentioned, eclipses bring
anticipated turning points. And with the ruler of this eclipse being in retrograde motion, the events that happen during this eclipse on the 3rd of March may feel as if it has happened before, Pisces. So there's a need to fix something from the past. Now, lunar eclipse is not about new territory. It's about correcting a trajectory. It's about course correction. So you're not meant to move forward blindly, Pisces. So it's important to pause and reflect around your relationship matters, your social interactions, and this can be any relationship. It can be a relationship with your spouse, can be with your parents, can be with your siblings, can be with your co-workers, children. It's all kind of social interaction. So that's what you are releasing during this time. And obviously, this eclipse will bring clarity and will clear the fog so that you can move forward, Pisces. Thank you.